Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. You may have seen a previous episode where we talked about Glocks and our favorite Glocks and why.
Can we do that in every episode? Oh, wait, no.
Yeah, I know.
Top 5 Glocks.
Yeah, I know. Top 5 Glocks.
Our top 5 Glocks.
Not the top 5 Glocks. So this time we're going to do Sigs. Okay, the Sig Sauer pistol line. So interesting. I'll give you a little tidbit of how I got into Sig. Years ago, I was working for a place, and we're working on Sig pistols. And so they needed me to understand the inner workings of them. And so I went out to Sig Academy in their previous version, not the current one. And I learned about the Sig Classic line, which was, the 228, the 225, the 229. It was the 22 series they had it, right? They had a 226, 220. All the numbers don't really mean much yet. We'll tell you what they're going to mean in a bit. But I kind of got a nice feeling about how they were put together. They're really cool. And I think right after I got home, I was thinking, maybe I should get one of these things. Why not? And I had an opportunity to go back and do some training there. And I found out about their red label program, as they call it, where Glock is the blue label program.
Right.
But it was refurbished SIGs, like their police trade-ins.
Because more firefighters buy guns than cops.
Apparently. Yeah. But what happened is I found out about this program where they're trade-ins. And they come in, they get them refurbished, and they send them out, but they don't sell them at full price, but they're still relatively unused. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of cool. So my first SIG actually ended up being a 229.
229.
Yeah, 229. So we'll get into a little bit. How'd you discover the world of SIG?
So totally by accident. When I got my pistol permit, I actually inherited my grandfather's pistol collection. And because of the way it all went down, when he passed away, I didn't have my permit yet. So I ended up applying for my permit. And his guns, we ended up having them stored at a gun shop until I could get them put on my permit. And I got to know the gun shop owner pretty well. And not long after I got the permit and had his guns put on my permit, I wanted a gun more for defense and carry. His guns were not really that type of guns. They were more target shooting guns or sporting guns, things like that. And this gun shop had this SIG in the case, which is a 226.
Okay.
So full size 9mm. And I liked it. I did a little bit of research before I went back and bought it.
Those are
and
nice.
Back then that meant like reading magazines and stuff. That's how long ago that was. And it seemed like a good gun. This gun in particular, sort of like yours, was also a police gun that had been traded in, although it went just right to the gun shop. It didn't go back to SIG to be rebuilt. And it's kind of a weird gun because it's a SIG 226 with no decocking lever. So it's a DAO. It's a double action only.
Double action only gun, yeah.
Which just means the trigger is horrific. So this was not a great choice as the first SIG or any first real defensive pistol to buy, but it's the one I ended up buying. So, and I actually carried this for years until I went on duty, and then we were issued Glocks. So
yeah,
this was what I carried before that then. So
cool.
Yeah.
So, some people might ask, why would people prefer a SIG over another pistol, right? People always ask me, I'll give you my personal answers on this. There are people like, Dave, what gun do you prefer? And, what are your top 3 choices or your top 4 choices for, makes and models, right? And I tell people, well, I've got the most experience with the Glock platform because that's what I shot the most.
Same here.
I've had to use them a lot, and in some critical moments where, I was glad I had a Glock pistol there, right? But if somebody told me suddenly tomorrow that you just have to stop carrying Glocks, all right, I'll pick up a SIG.
Yes, SIG would certainly be my second choice as well.
Yeah.
When people ask us, I think you and I kind of have the same answer. The top 3 pistols brands we kind of recommend for defensive pistols: Glock, SIG, and probably Smith & Wesson they're polymer frame guns.
Yeah, there's our next video.
There's our next video. Right.
I only have a couple M&Ps. So
I have a couple. Yeah.
But really, like, why would people choose a Sig over a Glock? Well, honestly, it's why do people drive a GMC versus a Ford? Personal choice. It's really what it boils down to.
I think it depends on which SIGs we're talking about.
Yeah.
I know SIG has the classic line they call it now, but that is a metal frame gun.
Yeah.
As opposed to a polymer frame. Glock does not have an equivalent to that. Yeah. So
if we start with, the SIG classic line, this is a steel frame gun. Okay?
Right.
Carbon steel, I think, is the title they use.
Yep.
And it's a pretty heavy duty rugged slide.
It's a heavy gun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like your 226, it's only a little bit short. I think the difference is about 3/4 of an
Shorter
inch.
barrel. Yep. Right. Exactly.
So my 229 is a little shorter, but it's got the same operation system.
Yep.
Okay?
Same
operation system.
Right.
It's designed to hold 15 rounds in a normal state.
Yeah. Yep.
In New York, 10.
This was 15 rounds.
Yep. But the operation of these things is simplistic. They just shoot very well.
They shoot well, and if you want a metal frame gun, there's not too many defensive pistols made today with a metal frame.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, Smith & Wesson just came out with a metal framed
I know.
gun, M&P gun.
M&P,
so
yeah.
that's interesting.
One of the things that I really got attracted to the SIG line for is compared to the Glocks. Glocks have 4 engagement points on their frame to slide mount.
Right.
Okay.
SIG.
Whereas SIG has nearly full length rails.
Yeah.
And embedded, just like the Glock, but it's the embedded, slots in the frame or in the
slide.
Yeah.
Yep. The other thing too is that Glock does not have equivalent is the fact that these guns are hammer fired. They're not striker fired guns. So traditional, a more traditional type of operating system than the striker fired guns.
Right.
So that's something else.
Now you had talked about yours doesn't have a decocking lever because it's double action only, where this one is a double single.
Right. So
I like that, but the drawback is you have to train a lot with a double single.
well, you're
you have to
learning
get
two
used
different
to
trigger presses, right?
Yeah.
This is one trigger press, a terrible trigger press.
Pretty rough.
Now that I know better, folks, right? I did not know better when I bought this gun. But I've looked into having a decocker put on this. Interestingly enough, they will not do it on this gun because you can send a lot of these back. This gun is too old.
Yeah, they don't want to mess with it.
I believe 87 this gun was made.
Okay.
I know a lot of you weren't born yet. I got it.
Yeah.
Got it. But 87 this gun.
This one's older than that.
Yep.
All right. But the decocker on this one, it's got a second lever. You see Matt's only has flip yours around.
Yep.
Okay, it's only got the one lever, the slide
There
lock.
should be a lever here
Okay.
that is missing.
There's a decocking lever here. So when you pull down on this, it lowers the hammer.
Right.
Okay, so it puts it in double action mode. So it's a longer trigger press.
Right.
Okay. Well, takes a little bit. I think if I remember correctly, it might be wrong. This is about 9 pounds on the double action.
Yeah.
And it's like
That's
3.5 to
probably
4 on the single action.
It's a broad difference between trigger presses.
Right.
Yes.
So, but this model was the first purchase I got off the program. And the other thing is, I quickly heard about the 228,
Right.
and I thought, well, it's the same gun. And it was like, no, it isn't, because
It is.
it's an alloy frame.
It is
lighter
the same
frame.
gun. It's just a lighter
It's a lighter frame.
Right.
And the one I bought is the exact same operation, same everything, decocking levers. The grip's a little different. This is more of the plastic rubberized, where this one's got a little bit of wear to it because
Yeah.
this was an older model.
And I have VZ aftermarket grips on this
Yeah.
gun. So different grips entirely.
Yep.
Interestingly, you know where that gun came from? Why they came out with that gun? That was to compete with lightweight Commander 1911s with the alloy frames.
Yeah.
That was the idea. Make it a little bit lighter, a little more carry friendly.
Right.
So another reason why people like SIGs or might like SIGs, because they don't like Glocks.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that is a major reason why people like SIGs. They're like, Glocks.
The Glockiverse.
They don't point well for me, right? We hear that all the time.
Right, it's the angle.
I don't
Yeah.
like the way they look. This my wife would agree with this. Glocks are ugly, so I don't like them. She loves the way SIGs look. Like
Oh,
they
yeah.
just have a classic look.
Well, there's curves to them.
Even the newer polymer frame SIGs, show that one, just compare. It has a more stylish look.
It's got a little flow to it.
Yeah.
It's got a rounder edge to it.
Definitely.
It's got a
There's
it's got
more
little
taper
style.
on the slide. It's not as
Yeah.
square, blocky.
They
Yeah.
they kind of kind of made it look a little
So
better.
I think if you want a better looking gun,
Yeah.
and sometimes a better feeling in your handgun, Sigs appeal to people for that reason.
The one thing that I've noticed between shooting the SIGs and the Glocks, especially the 320 series now, is like the SIG. It feels like it fills my hand better. Rather than just it's got the like the Glocks have the skinny sides, but this one it's got
there's
some
more
of the guns,
swell there.
There's a little swell to it.
So interestingly enough, I got rid of that with these grips.
Yeah.
So if you look at they're more like Glock. They're very flat because that fits my hand better. So yeah, it's interesting.
So when we've got these, the other thing is, so here's a funny story. I happened to be at a local store one time, and I was looking around, and I wasn't looking for a gun, right, at that moment. I was just talking to one of the friends of mine that worked the gun counter. And we were talking, and he goes, "What do you know about SIGs?" And I said, "I know a little bit. I got a couple of them." And at the time, I probably had 3 or 4. And he goes, "What do you think about this one?" He picks it up, and it was this thing right here. And I'm like, "Wow, that looks like it's got some use to it." He goes, "Yeah, it was a West German police trade-in that got brought back to America, to the SIG factory, and they refurbished it and then they re-released it. But they didn't. All they did was just check the internals. They didn't change or update anything.
Right.
In fact, I think the original night sights were still on it because I haven't changed these.
Yeah. So
I don't even know if they work.
This gun has original SIG night sights that do not glow anymore.
Yeah. What they call them? SIG lights.
SIG lights. Yep,
yeah,
that's right.
So I was looking at this thing and I'm like, wow, that is cool. It's skinnier. So this is a model 225.
225, yeah.
Which is the skinnier cousin to...
Yeah, that's the original thin frame gun.
Yeah.
That's so popular now, right?
And the magazine was kind of funny because it was already a 10-round magazine.
Right.
But at the time when I bought this thing, we weren't worried about that 10-round stuff.
Right.
But I kind of liked it, just the look of it, and it had a burnished look to it. This thing has seen some holster wear.
Yeah.
This thing has been shot.
Carried a lot.
Yeah.
How much it was shot? Who knows?
Who knows?
Police gun.
Yeah. Probably a lot of training. But then I went and asked him the price, and he said, yeah, we're trying to get rid of this. He told me the price. I couldn't even tell you what it was, but it was something that I couldn't pass up.
Only can pass. So there you go.
So I think I had like a couple coupons or some gift cards, and I want to say I ended up putting about $150 cash into this, minus all the discounts and everything. He hooked me up.
This gun was a couple $100, which at the time I thought was a lot of money. But yeah, that's how much that was.
But I found that this thing, it's got the original fatter trigger.
Yep.
So it doesn't have the skinny trigger like some of the other ones do.
Yep. This has got a fat trigger too.
This thing, when I took it to the range like a couple of days later, this thing shot
I bet you
beautifully.
that's pretty nice. Yeah.
I was very impressed.
Nice gun.
Even with this one being lightweight, this one, it felt
all 9
the
millimeters,
same.
so you're not talking a lot of extra, recoil and a lighter gun. That's still a pretty heavy gun.
I mean, the awesome recoil of the 9.
Yeah. So talk about roll that in with magazine capacity story.
Yeah.
Back in 2013, when the state passed there will be no magazines more than 10 rounds. And it looked like, what was the original? You could only have 8 rounds. In the magazine.
7 rounds in a 10-round magazine.
I can't remember. I put that out of my mind. But yeah, 7 rounds in the magazine plus 1 in the chamber. I was like, well, you know what? I'm carrying a 9, but if I can only have, tell me where this comes
7
from.
rounds?
7 or 8 rounds. I want it to be more. I want extra.
Okay.
Right? So I went and bought a SIG 220.
You went to God's caliber.
In God's caliber, right. Because I figured, well, if 7 or 8 in a 1911 was enough, it definitely was enough in a SIG.
Right. And you were used to the SIG platform.
And I was used to the SIG platform because I've been carrying this and shooting it. So I bought this. So it's essentially the same gun. It's a 226, but in 45.
Okay.
So they just call it 220. And it was an 8-round magazine plus 1. Is how it came.
Yeah, you got close.
Skinny magazine, right?
Yeah.
So, yep. And I carried this for a while until all that stuff kind of shook out, and it basically that whole 7-round thing got thrown out. So I very quickly then went back to 10-round magazines in a 9mm platform.
So I've shot probably 4,000 or 5,000 rounds on a 220 or the 220.
Yeah, 220. Yep.
And I found that pistol manages the 45 very well.
Super controllable.
Yeah.
In 45, yes. I own 1911s. I've shot these side by side.
Yeah.
And this definitely I feel is more manageable. It's a heavy gun.
Oh, they're chunky.
There's
They
a
have to
lot of
be.
weight to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a hard gun to carry. It was not a fun gun to carry.
Yeah.
For sure.
So in the evolution of things, let's see, I'm trying to think, where did I go next? So it was, over the years, I've been to SIG Academy a bunch of times, and of course they make it really hard to leave there without accessories or gear or pistols.
Buying a pistol. Yeah.
They give you a really nice discount, and it's right, like the old joke about going to the amusement parks, and all the rides you exit through the gift shop, right?
Yeah.
It's like you got to go by the gift shop on the way out. But it was a number of years ago. I think it was when I did either the master instructor course. Yeah, it was before the red dot instructor course. I was able to shoot one of the instructor's guns who had the compact version of a gun that I finally bought the full size of.
Yeah, so but you bought that first, right?
Compact.
Yeah.
And this at the time was named the RXP.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. The Romeo, I think it's got the Romeo 1 sight on there.
Romeo 1 back then.
But the gun impressed me. The way it shot, the way it handled, the way it, because, I did half the course with a SIG because they wanted to see, how your skills can translate to different platforms.
With a SIG.
Yeah. Well, of course, they were just teasing me. And when I shot this one, I was like, you know what? That actually works.
Yes, we are the guys that have gone to SIG and shot Glocks. So.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah, many times.
Yeah, and they accepted us for what we are.
Yeah, for what we are.
Even though they do say that in California, Glocks cause cancer.
We'll let the poors
I think
here.
in California, everything causes cancer.
Yes.
But with this pistol, I found a package that I liked. And it was funny is the price for the pistol with the sight was cheaper than the pistol and buying the sight later. I just bought the package and had it sent home and through all those channels. And I went out and I took this thing and put it through its paces. And I'll tell you, this thing's impressed me.
That gun shoots really nice.
It carries well.
Yeah, it's a good size.
It's got a beautiful trigger on it. Yes, it's been upgraded. It doesn't have the problematic trigger. I don't even want to get into those rumors or those issues. But it was nice. And then I ran this for a while, but I did go back to the Glock only because I wanted to. But I've got all the same holster gear for this one that I do for my Glock, so I could pop this one in and run it if I want.
Yeah.
So where did you go after your 220?
So, I mean, these are my 3 SIGs that I had, and I went to a 365. So, again, this came from SIG. Up there at a class, bought this with a red dot.
Over it.
And I'll be honest, I really thought this would be my everyday carry. I bought this with that intention, and I ended up going back to Glock.
Guys, it's not a SIG bashing class.
No, it's not. This is a very nice gun, but my problem is I have literally hundreds of thousands of rounds through Glocks. And when I compared this, I ended up carrying a 43X, which is essentially the same size, except the SIG for my hand, the grip is almost too thin. And I feel like there's a lot of play there, and I have to really grip.
Yeah, you got to really tighten your
I
fingers down.
really got to make it not want to twist in my hand, where I don't have to do that with the 43X.
Yeah.
It fills my hand better. That's really the major reason why I went to a 43X.
Right.
Because I hit a 48 and didn't love it and wanted to replace it with this. Tried it for a while.
It just didn't take, did it?
Yeah. As one of my YouTube channel that I watch, it didn't give me the fizz.
The fizz.
It didn't do it. You know what I mean?
Didn't do it for you, yeah.
Didn't do it. So, yeah. It's a great gun. I enjoy shooting it, but I don't prefer it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's funny is that just reminded me because in reality, when I came home after that one class with this one also got ordered at the same time and came
That's
home
another
at the same
365X,
time. Yeah, 365X, but I didn't get the optic one.
Yeah, no red dot.
And in hindsight, I probably should have, even though I probably wasn't going to put one on there.
I've been telling everybody that I talk to that's looking to buy a pistol, buy it ready for optics, whatever the company's version of that is, because if you don't want an optic, you don't have to have it, but with so many people switching, it's better to have it optic ready than not, and that definitely applies with the SIGs. So, yep.
So, let's see. Somewhere in the middle of this, I was at another gun store, and I was thinking, I started getting guns for, like, gun fit sessions and demonstrator guns of what to buy, what not to buy. I was just
sometimes
looking
what
at
not to buy. Right.
And this little Sig 938, and they called it the Scorpion, and I love the grips because of the scalloping.
They look cool.
But
I like the color.
And the color's kind of cool. It's like a greenish.
It's a green. I don't know.
I don't know.
It's interesting.
I've never personally seen a Scorpion, so I'm guessing Scorpions might be this color.
It's kind of close.
Okay, but I bought it thinking, well, somebody's going to come to me and say, I want a little pocket. Okay, it's a 9mm, still a 9mm.
Well, when you got that, we were seeing an awful lot of those in classes too.
Yeah,
there was a lot of them coming in class.
So part of the reason why I wanted to be familiar with them.
Yeah, I
wanted to be able to speak to them, and I found that my problem with this gun, and you'll be able to tell, is when I put my finger on there, I can't get my pinky on there, and that pinky finger is pretty integral to managing recoil.
I'm only about half your other finger.
Yeah, I could barely get it on there. So you got to buy the magazine that has the extender on it, which just made it a taller.
It sort of defeats the purpose.
Okay, it's like people that get the 365 and put the extended magazine on there. They might as well just bought a 365X, right?
Exactly.
But I found that even with the pinky rest, this gun was a little bit of a handful.
It's a handful.
But it is kind of a neat gun. Now, the other interesting thing is it's kind of a small 1911.
The way it operates, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a small 1911. And I can see Ed behind the screen now
he's
celebrating,
for joy.
doing some happy dance thing.
He might have another result right here in a minute.
Yeah. But it's got the Colt pattern safety right about where the Colt pattern safety sits on 1911 style guns.
Well, and it is a cocked and locked, right? So it's hammer back with the safety on. So it essentially is a mini 1911.
And it is a strict single action, straight press trigger.
Yeah. The trigger on that gun is actually pretty nice. That is one thing I will say for it. It is a very nice trigger.
The interesting thing is, even with the safety on in cocked and locked, unlike a 1911, you can operate the slide.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay, safety on.
Yep.
Slide can operate. So if you got to do something, at least you still got the safety.
Safety is on while you're operating the gun.
But was it my favorite? The biggest thing it's missing is it doesn't have the 1911 grip safety.
There's no grip safety. Right.
So in reality, this has got your active safety. It's got a safety that works with the bow on the back of the trigger, and then it's got the firing pin safety in there.
Yeah.
So it's still pretty
Which
safe.
Essentially makes it drop safe.
Yeah.
But the other thing I found with that gun, the safety's stiff. And you and I can operate just fine, but someone with smaller hands struggles getting that safety off.
And I can see the logic. You don't want this safety to be able to sweep down too easily.
Now without a grip safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because right now all you got left is the firing pin safety.
Yeah, I wouldn't rely on that with a hammer in the rear position.
It's easier to put on, which is nice, but it takes a little bit more effort to take the safety off, which is okay.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, that was somewhere in the middle of things. And then, it wasn't last year?
2 years ago?
Maybe 2 years ago. We were up at SIG doing a couple courses. Yep. And I got this bright idea after learning that the fire control unit in the SIGs, which they call the frame.
That's the gun, essentially, right?
So SIG calls these grip modules.
Grip modules, right.
Yep. And then the operative part on the inside is the frame.
With the serial number on it.
With the serial number.
Yeah, so that's the part that you have to do.
So those can come out.
All the legal transfer stuff with.
In about 4 seconds, they can come out.
Swap it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I got this idea of I want to get a full-size gun just to run for maybe quals, training, and just fun, right? So they were telling me about the 320 full-size.
Right.
So, of course, Dave being Dave, went in and actually bought the conversion kit for the M17 because I already had the grip, the firing pin or the fire control unit that can go in.
Yeah, so you just bought the kit to
So I just bought the kit.
To make that into a full fire.
Yeah. And then it came optics ready, but I had to get a new plate and I put my own optic on it.
Okay.
Because I honestly, I prefer the Holosun models.
Me too.
So I just figured I'm going to put a Holosun on it. So I put a 50, one of the titanium models on there.
Nice.
But I'll tell you, I've run this gun a lot in a lot of pretty heavy duty classes, and I don't even notice the difference. It actually, it runs great.
So I got to ask you a question. You bought that slide and that frame together, or was it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Why don't they match?
It's because the metal and the plastic have two different embeddings.
It's just one of those things I notice about SIG. Like,
I know.
Like they're whatever.
Not perfectly.
Their flat dark earth is like 7 different colors.
Yeah, no,
I swear.
okay.
I swear
it's a randomized thing. Hey, it's done on purpose. But at the same time, I also, actually when I got home, I ordered a standard 320. with just basic sights on it and everything because there was some experimenting I wanted to do, and come on, the instructor discount was pretty good.
Instructor discount is pretty good.
I think this whole kit was maybe $300 or $400.
Yeah.
It wasn't that expensive. It might have been cheaper.
You're buying everything but that fire control unit.
But I got home, and within 5 minutes, I had this pistol put together. In fact, my frame and everything, the frame for the other three, the RXP that's sitting home,
right,
is still sitting there in the case with the slide and everything. Just
got all the other parts.
Maybe someday I'm going to have to buy a fire control unit
and make another gun. Yeah, why not?
But this one, I'll tell you, this 320 series, it's got a straight trigger on it. It operates beautifully. It runs great, and no, I probably should clean it, but it just runs. The last class we did up there just recently in the summer was the reflexive shooting, and what I did is because of the holster I was running out of, it required a light. So instead of borrowing a gun, which that's cool up there. You can just shoot their gear.
Yeah, if you come to class, I'll give you one of their guns.
I did is I liked my grip module, and they had the larger grip models on there.
Yeah.
So I just took my slide off, put their slide on, and ran this grip module with my light on there.
It's that easy, yeah.
And it was simple, and it was very familiar without sights.
That's cool.
So this gun was pretty cool. I have not shot the other 320 yet because I've got to work it into my experimental process.
Right.
But when I test fired a bunch of a couple of different models of 320 that the instructors had at one of the classes, and I was like, wow, this really is a nice gun.
Yeah, they're nice.
And I went and bought it, and
I like the modularity of them. That is kind of cool.
Oh, it's amazing. There's like 3 different grip modules you can get out there. There's a Wilson grip module. There's another one.
There's a whole bunch of them.
This one says medium on it. You can still say it's dirty from everything. But this one says medium. There's a small, and then there's a large, and I think there's an XL.
So you can make it fit.
So you can really make this thing big.
Yep.
But it's like they used to call it Glocks Legos for adults because
those are even more modular.
These are definitely Legos for adults.
Way more.
gun people.
So I guess we should talk about our top 5 SIGs.
Top 5?
Even though I only own 3.
I got to narrow it down?
Yeah. So what's your 5th top SIG?
Well, so would we say that, like, okay, so number 1 would be the best. My most favorite SIG?
We're gonna go the favorite is number 1, right?
All right, my 5 is gonna be this one. It's gonna be the
Really?
Yeah, the 938.
I wasn't even sure that would be on there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's gonna be that one. Only because of my hands don't fit it. It doesn't fit me very well. It is a little harsh to shoot because of the weight.
It is.
To the power ratio. I'd say that one's going to be my 5th. If you said, okay, Dave, you got to pick your 5th gun out of the safe to shoot today, that one's coming out.
It is a unique gun, and in that respect, so I could see that.
It's got a lot of neat factor.
All right.
What's yours?
So it's one I don't own, but I've shot actually several times. Is the SIG 1911 series of guns.
Okay.
They make a neat 1911 that's probably in some ways more refined than, I know blasphemy, right? Than most 1911s. And here's
Ed just deleted this whole video because you said that.
Here's the other key. Reliable. They're probably some of the most reliable 1911s I've ever seen.
Well, even people
nice
talk about out-of-the-box performance, right?
Right.
Okay. So out of the box, I know...
You don't have to tinker with a SIG 1911 to make it run reliably. That's the key.
And a lot of the newer, I guess you could say, we'll say the higher-end 1911s are running pretty good out of the box.
They're running pretty good, but they still tend to be a little finicky. SIGs are not finicky usually on ammo or anything else. So I would like to own one someday.
It's interesting you say that because I had a SIG 1911. It was a 45. You remember it. And it was the two-tone one.
Yeah.
Beautiful gun.
Yep.
It was beautiful. It shot well. I just didn't carry it. I didn't shoot it. I didn't use it.
It's not a gun I would carry, Yeah.
And I actually sold it to somebody, one of our students who was interested in something like that. And I just mentioned I had one.
Yep.
You want to look at it? And he asked me, "Is this for sale?" And I said, "Probably." And he made me an offer, and I said, "Sure, it's for sale now." Because I didn't use it.
Yeah,
I wasn't using it for a lot of other methods. It was a safe queen. It was just hanging out.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? How about I get it to somebody who's going to use it?
Sure.
And who's going to have fun with it. And as far as I know, that gun was beautiful. It had some style to it. I'll have to admit.
They do. They have
Yeah.
a look. The Sig 1911 definitely have a
Now
look.
I'm down to two 1911s.
That's what I have. I have two 1911s.
All right. So let's let the listeners and the viewers have a little fun with this.
Okay.
Okay. You've got my 938,
Which is a mini 1911.
which is a
oddly enough.
1911.
Yeah.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah.
And your Sig 1911.
Full size.
Gang, which one do you think should win?
Let us
out of that level right there. Okay.
All right.
All right. So
Number
moving
4.
on. Number 4.
Number 4.
Okay. Number 4 is probably going to be the 365X that I have.
Interesting choice.
Okay, and I'll tell you why. One of the regrets I have is I didn't put an optic on it. Right, but that's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. You know, this thing I've actually carried it. There were a couple times I carried it running.
It is pretty light. For that.
So it's compact enough. It's still got enough stature compared to like my Glock 43. Okay? Because
Yeah,
you know the 43 again, I've got this issue, whereas the Sig I can get all
You can
fingers
get all
on
the
here, right?
Exactly.
And it's got enough of a sight radius, so I'm pretty happy with it. But if I had to go with a number 4, it's going to be this guy.
Okay.
Okay, and only because there's got to be a number 4.
Sure.
What's yours?
Again, another gun I don't own, but I've shot, and I've seen a lot of them, a ton of them. And I keep getting told that you have to buy one of these.
Oh,
The 365 macro.
yep. I knew you were going to say that one.
Yeah, I actually think that the macro is probably the best gun Sig is making right now
Okay.
for concealed carry.
Okay.
Okay. I think it does everything well and nothing bad.
Okay.
And it doesn't have the stigma, you alluded to it earlier, that the 320 is carrying. Whether that's real or not, we won't get into all that stuff. But the macro is a different gun.
Right.
And they're doing a lot of interesting things with it for sure.
Okay.
It is a little bigger gun, so you can get all your fingers on it. You know, there's just a lot of improvements to that gun. And I've seen a ton of them in classes.
Well, you didn't know.
So-
Sig's got that instructor discount program.
Yeah.
I know. They make it hard to resist.
Yes,
some
they
days.
do. Yes, they do. So,
Okay.
so 365 macro,
Okay.
and yours was
Mine was the 365X.
5X.
Right.
So again, listeners, you tell us, or watchers, viewers,
Yeah.
you tell us.
Which
Which
one
one?
do you think
Yep.
should be rated better?
365X or
The
365 macro.
Macro.
Wow, we're like right on par here. I don't know. It's weird. All right,
This is weird. It's getting
moving
it's
on.
getting awkward. All right.
Number 3.
Number 3. Well, if I had to pick a number 3, well, I know what my number 1's going to be and the number 2. So number 3, I've got 3 to pick from, and only because, you know, like the old phrase, you never forget your first, right?
Yeah, gotcha.
You know, your first car, your first girlfriend, you know, your first pistol. So my first Sig, the 229.
229.
Yeah, that's going to be the number 3. Only because, that's just it's got sentimental value. No, I'm kidding. It's a nice
it
pistol.
does.
I like
it's
it.
a nice gun.
And it was my first
It's your
experience
first
with
Sig,
Sig.
right?
I did carry this one a little bit. You can see it's still got a little wear on the screws and everything, so they're not as dim. They're a little shiny. But this one, it's just got this. You put it in your hand and you go, oh, yeah. That's a nice pistol. That was fun shooting it. And like all the memories come back of training with it and doing some work with it, and finding holsters for it. Because when I bought this, there were some. I wanted a particular holster because of how I carried, and it was tough to find one that met that criteria.
Well,
But now they're all over the place.
Back when we bought these guns, there weren't a lot of holster options out there that
it
was good.
duty holsters or outside the
Or
waistband.
duty, or you had like a Milt Sparks,
Yeah.
a Lessie. There was a few leather holster makers, and you would order and you'd get it like sometime in 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So not to stack the deck, but I think a tie would be, a 3-way tie, because the 228 isn't that far off from the 229.
they're all similar guns.
So it's the classic line. I'm just going to go with the classic line because the 225, just because of the history that's probably behind this.
That's a cool gun.
This thing's well traveled. Okay.
German
I would
police
say
gun.
the 225, but if I had to pick one, it's this guy.
Yeah.
It's the 229.
Gotcha.
Okay. What's yours? What's your number?
Number 3, 220.
The 220?
Yeah, I actually really do enjoy shooting this gun. It's a fun gun to shoot. I don't shoot a lot of 45 anymore, but I find when I do, it's probably this gun.
Take it out of the range, punch big holes in the
like you
backstop.
said, it handles 45 well.
Okay.
It's just a nice gun. It's very similar to my 226, essentially almost the same gun,
Yeah.
but in a bigger caliber. And yeah, I just enjoy it. It's not something. I mean, it is heavy. It's not a gun I'm going to carry. You put 9 rounds of 45 in here, and it's a boat anchor.
It gets chunky.
It gets real chunky real fast.
It does.
But it is just a fun gun to shoot. And the trigger on this gun is actually pretty nice. So I would say 220. Sure.
Okay.
Number 3.
All right. So my number 3, the 229, or Matt's
220.
220. Both classic line guns. Which
Yep.
one do you think is better? Come on, you got to tell us. Come on.
Come on.
You gotta help us out. All right. Going
All
to
right.
number 2. I'll let you go first. What's
All
your
right.
number 2?
This was a tough call,
switch it
right?
up.
So you talked about your first, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that. I thought, man, that should be number 1. But I relegated it to number 2. So, yeah, the 226. And I think if this was a classic decocker gun, it would probably be number 1.
Okay.
But the fact that the trigger is really not great, this is more sentimental value to me than anything.
Yeah.
I honestly probably have not shot this gun
Kind of
in
why I went with
like 12 years
229, yeah.
because it's not a fun gun to shoot as opposed to the 220. It's just not fun.
When you want to work out, take out your 6.226 double action.
Yeah, you get that. So just the fact it was the first real defensive pistol. It's the first pistol I bought myself.
Yeah.
I will make it number 2, but it's not because I enjoy shooting it. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, Sig 226. What do you got for yours?
My number 2, I'm going to go with the RXP. Okay. Only for the reason is because, well, the other one I like in number 1 spot. Okay.
Right, that sounds
So the
smart.
RXP, trust me, if I could say I could skip number 2 and have 2 number 1s, it would be this one in the 320 full size.
I think if I owned one of those, it'd probably be my number 1. I like that gun.
This gun is nice. You know, I
Yeah.
like the way it sits in my hand. I like the way you've got that, you know, it's got a little bit more extended beaver tail on here, so you get a little more recoil support. Your hand finds this faster because of the way it's scalloped
Just locks
in there.
right in there.
Yeah, and it's got a little bit of an indent right here, which helps your hand fall into place.
The index is right there.
Yeah. But this gun, you know, the one drawback to some of the SIGs, in fact, all the SIGs that I have is compared to the Glocks, they have a higher profile above my hand. So the axis, the bore to hand ratio is a little high.
You
but
notice that muzzle flip?
it does a little bit, but it's not much.
Yeah.
Right. But, you know, number 2 on this one, only because there has to be a number 2, I guess, is my RXP. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it or it's.
No.
I like
That's a
another
nice
one
gun.
a little better.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. So we've got Matt's 226
Yeah.
or my RXP,
Right.
or AKA the 320 compact. That's
Right.
what the other
That's really
name
the
for
other
it,
name for
right?
now. Right.
All right. So number 1.
Yeah, we're at number 1.
How about on the count of 3, we hold them up?
Okay.
Is yours here?
Yes.
Okay. Yours
is
is here.
here.
All right.
Yep.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. My number 1. I'll let you go first on this one. Go ahead.
365X
Okay.
with the optic.
With the optic.
Yeah, I do like this gun. I know I said I decided not to carry it.
Okay.
I may still make a run at that at some point. I do like this gun. One of the biggest hangups I've had is the trigger is too nice. If that makes any sense. I'm used to the Glock trigger, which gives you a lot of feedback,
Yeah.
and that doesn't exist on this trigger. You literally touch it, you move it a little bit, and the gun will fire.
Yep.
It's a very nice trigger, almost too nice for me. I'm a Chevy guy, not a Mercedes guy. So actually, I'm not. I hate Chevys too, but I'm a Toyota guy, not a Lexus guy. So there you go.
He's a Yoda.
But I do, yes. But I do like this gun overall, and I think it's a well designed gun.
Yep.
I like the profile. I like how thin it is. I like the length of the grip. I think they did a lot of things right with this gun. So I'm gonna probably make another run at carrying it.
But SIG's fault that was is they didn't get it to you sooner because you've got more experience in the Glock.
Yeah,
I'll go with that.
if I hadn't gone on duty and carried Glocks for 15 years,
I know.
I'd be carrying this every day, or some version of, or that RXP or something along that line for sure. I do like SIGs.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
All right,
What's
so my
yours?
number 1, the
320. Yeah.
well, the 320 full size,
Full
but
size.
in this configuration, they call it the M17 because it was set up for a certain contract.
Right.
And they decided, let's let the civilians play with this one. Now, there is another version of this called the M18, which actually has an active safety on the side.
Right.
Okay. I could have gotten that one, but most of my guns, they don't have the external active safeties on there.
Yeah.
So I prefer the internal safeties, the striker fired ones, because I want
No
my
manual
guns to
safeties,
be,
yeah.
I want them to be intuitive.
Yep.
But when I was talking, actually, it was one of the instructors that had this setup, but with a Romeo on it, the Sig red dot.
The Sig red dots.
And what I wanted to do is like, okay, he let me shoot. I was like, you know what? Almost every gun I have is black. Why shouldn't I get a different color gun? And I kind of liked this color, so why not? So I went into the shop, talked to the guy, and he brought out the kit.
You liked which color? Which one of those?
I like both. Both is good.
Just kills me they can't color
It's
match.
funny, is my holster, the holster I carried in is a blend. It's like a lighter shade of this. So I bought a couple holsters and they're a little bit different, flat dark earth. So, but I like this gun. As I said, I've put a lot of rounds to this. I've done a couple classes now where this gun just performs well.
Yeah, I can see you got a bit of wear on that gun.
Oh yeah, I've got to clean it up. I admit I should clean it up, make it look a little better. The last time I shot it at that course, I just shot a little bit, and then I shot their gun, came back to mine, played with it. But this 320 full size just is very controllable. I look at some metrics when I'm shooting guns, like with this gun. Okay, time on target. Okay, muzzle flip.
Return to
more
target.
muzzle flips means I got to work a little more to put it back on target, right?
Yep.
Whereas the full size, and this is indicative of most full size gun, you've got a lot of weight out here compared to the little guy, right?
It's a lot.
So there's some counterbalancing going on. This thing shoots so flat, it's ridiculous. I actually saw a video of one of the drills I did, and this gun was moving up and down about maybe a half inch.
Yep.
But to me, it looked like, because I'm watching the dot, it looks like the dot's going way up here, coming way down here.
But it's not.
But it was like just bouncing around a little bit.
Right.
But this thing, the trigger is beautiful, and it's just a good gun. I like it. That's why I put it in my number one Sig.
I like it.
In fact, there's a course coming up this weekend I might jump into, and this thing's definitely going to come out. Yeah,
cool.
It's going to come out and play.
All right.
So, all right, we've got my number one choice, the 320 full size in the M17 configuration, and you've got your 365 with the optic on it, or 365X, sorry.
X, yes.
With the optic on it.
With the optic.
So, gang, you get to choose on this one, too.
Yep.
Which one would you prefer?
Sure.
And give us some feedback on it. All right. Let's see. Anything else you want to add about Sigs?
No, I think we beat it.
I think we got it.
I think we beat it to death.
I think we did pretty good.
Yeah.
So, let's do a little callback a little bit. Guys, if you haven't checked out the Glock Showdown video, the top 5 Glock Showdown, check it out. Okay, give it a look, and then by all means, if you like it, hit that big thumb.
What else do you want us to talk about? What other top 5s or top 3s or top 10s? Give us some ideas.
Well, I don't know if they get an M&Ps, that's going to cost me some money.
We can put pictures up.
Yeah, we can put pictures.
Actually,
I've got experience with.
Is there that many M&Ps?
Well,
I don't know. We could do top 5.
Well, you know what? If I were to get another M&P, it'd probably be one of the metal frames ones you talked about.
That is a nice. We have a client that's been bringing that, and that is a nice gun.
That's a good gun.
If I was going to buy an M&P, it would not be a straight up M&P. It would probably be the new Shield 2.0.
Yeah.
I've seen a bunch of those come through classes, and it's a big improvement.
We got to save some for the.
We're just talking about what we might get. We're not saying where it ranks. So.
Maybe we'll have to
teaser.
Maybe we'll have to rank. I know. Maybe we'll have to rank the Smith & Wesson semi-automatics that we've seen through the years.
Ooh, that would be tough.
Oh, there's one that I know is going to be that D basement rating. We're not going to mention it, but I know you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
So, gang, this was fun to do. We're always looking for feedback on you guys and suggestions. Some of you have sent in some good stuff. Please like these videos. Help us out. Comment below. Start spreading the word a little bit. Get some discussion going.
Subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe to the channel. Share it out there. And then by all means, please get on Patreon. Become a supporter. Help us out with that. The more we get on Patreon, the more we can do these videos. And the more fun we'll have. And the more fun you'll have watching us. On the end, anything else you want to leave them with?
No, I think we did good. I like it.
Thanks for coming by, guys. See you soon.